Welcome to Truth by Billie Beene. Today's date, July 29, 2025. Time in Texas, about 8 a.m. I've been off the air for a few days due to some plumbing issues in my computer room. Bailing water is not fun. But let's get started today. Some of the sources I'll use are Pastor Paul Begley, Mike from Around the World, BPEARTHWATCH, Redacted, Prometheus updates. Some of the things we'll cover: a shooter in New York City, Galactic Federation, President Trump in Scotland, and the UK equals the New World Order. So let's get started. We have quiet and space weather. I understand there's a large coronal hole on the sun turning to face Earth in about 10 days that is so large it's changing the vibration of the sun. So in 10 days, we'll see how that will affect the Earth. We have in Texas and much of the U.S. Continuing heat dome with some boundary thunderstorms coming. We also have an unusual cooling wave coming to Texas and much of the U.S. in a few days that will cool us down. Maybe in Texas we're at the hundreds down to like the high 80s. So we'll take the break from the sun. And we have this. I have a Patriot subscriber. It's talking about Mike from Around the World. And in my recent video, I put out information about a celestial event that took place in 1561. And my Patriot subscriber says that Mike from Around the World is right. They are out there, the ETs, and I witnessed ETs in 1974. So that's going on. And we have this. I have a Patriot subscriber. Remember President Trump and his rallies? He would say, "We have it all," and he would play YMCA. And I did wonder why he chose that song. My Patriot subscriber says Gitmo in 1914 to 1918 for the U.S. Marines, the U.S. military, was their YMCA, their gym. So when President Trump was playing YMCA at his rallies, he was really referencing Gitmo. So that's going on. And we have this. So we have from Redacted, did an interview with a whistleblower from the CIA, James Martinez. And he was talking about, CIA whistleblower. And he was talking about in the 1980s, 90s, the CIA was engaged in fake ET abductions, and they were using individuals in their MK Ultra programs. That's where the CIA engages in torture and drugs and whatever to gain mind control. And then they usually take these individuals very young and then use them as operatives. So yeah, we have a CIA whistleblower coming out and making that determination, and also talking about Palantir as being part, he calls it an extinction level event. What he's talking about is certain technologies taking over humans, like being chipped and having brain implants and becoming cyborgs. Yes, the technology does exist for that. But this individual is putting forth that the CIA, and I believe certain individuals with the CIA would be involved in that. Now he's putting forth also that RFK Jr.'s father, Bobby Kennedy, so we know JFK was assassinated, the CIA was involved, and then about 5 years later, his brother, Bobby Kennedy, was running for president. This is in the 60s. He was also assassinated. New information is coming out that Bobby Kennedy was taken out by a directed energy weapon put in place by the CIA. So that's going on. We see a lot of truth coming out. We have this. So I believe we had a shooting last night in New York City. I believe this person was a product of the CIA MK Ultra program. He fits the profile to a T. He was in his 30s, Middle Eastern allegedly, but his name is coming out to be Shane D. Takmara, which sounds Asian to me. He's being put forth as Middle Eastern. He was at 52nd and Park Avenue last night in New York City in front of the Black Rock building. I saw a picture of him. It appeared that he was carrying, he had on armor. He was carrying an AK-47. He opened fire on NYPD. He killed 2 New York City police officers. He killed also, I believe, 2 civilians and wounded 6 other people. And he went finally inside the building and killed himself. So that is how that fits the profile of the MK Ultra triggered individuals who engage in mass shootings. It's usually a single shooter, and they always neutralize themselves. Now, apparently, the CIA playbook is getting a little bit more aware that American citizens are catching on to their playbook, because they didn't immediately, within 5 minutes of the shooting, come out and say, oh, and we have his manifesto, and here's what he's saying on social media platforms, and so on. I guess they're becoming aware that American citizens see right through that. Now, our hearts, thoughts, and prayers do go out to the real families of these 2 New York City police officers and the civilians who were killed by the CIA, most likely a CIA operative. What was the purpose for the shooting in front of the Black Rock building? Now, Black Rock is a deep state multinational corporation. So we'll have to wait and see if there are strings or from this event that appear to tie together to give us more information. So that's going on. Now we have this from Red Wave News. President Trump working with the FBI, and there are some good people with the CIA and the FBI, but many evil. President Trump worked with some good FBI to take down 4 dark web sites that were engaged in child pornography and showing child torture and so on. And 16 people, as a result, have been arrested. So way to go, President Trump. And it is all about the children. And we have this from Real Raw News. Talking about Congress, President Trump, after the catastrophic, unnatural flash floods in Texas, where we had a dry creek bed go from dry and in 30 minutes go to 26 to 30 feet tall with a wave of water. Unnatural. President Trump appointed in Congress a weather warfare committee to investigate. And so one thing he did, he came out from this committee and said to the states have much power in different areas. The states control the airports in their states. So President Trump, through his Congressional Weather Warfare Committee, said to the states, it would be good if you take action at your airports to note and watch for suspicious activity of individuals who could be engaged in weather warfare. Now, Texas is complying. California is not. So it goes by politics. And we have this under the Genius Bill. We have that from now on, we know we have illegals working inside the U.S. who send money out of the U.S. to foreign nations. Now, this money will be tracked and will be taxed by the U.S. government at 3.5% tax. Mexico is furious. And now we have this. We have, yes, so President Trump talking about weather warfare and other events going on in our nation, with President Trump's different groups inside intel agencies plus the U.S. military to take down illegals and to take down deep state operations. Says to expect widespread outages. And also information is coming out, we know under, I think that was the Genius Act, we had information about a coin, a U.S. coin. Another name is being given to it, Patriot Coin, to be used in the U.S. Based on gold assets. And it will bypass the SWIFT and the International Monetary Fund and international banks. So that's going on. President Trump is moving the U.S. into a new period of prosperity. Way to go, President Trump. We have this from Prepper News. Yes, a few days ago there was a widespread global outage of Starlink, which could be tied to President Trump, the White Hats, and I believe God is instrumental in this, and taking down the deep state. We had that information, expect widespread outages, and then about that same time, we had a global Starlink outage that lasted, I think, for about up to 12 hours. So that's going on. But information is coming out that Starlink, which we know is integrated with AI, AI would have detected scalar wave weapons over Chicago and New York City. And so then Starlink went down, and the White Hats and President Trump were able to take out the scalar wave weapons, and there were large explosions in Chicago and New York City. The cover story put out is that they were gas explosions. And during this process, children were being rescued. So that's going on. And we have this from Facebook. So we have Planned Parenthood is permanently being closed in Tyler, Texas. That's great to know. And we have Secretary of State Marco Rubio is investigating Harvard's visa program. We know that many colleges and universities use, they're paid off, and they use their visa program for college students to actually bring in international spies. And we have a new poll that voters reject the Dems' extremism and describe the Dems as being off the rails, with an example being, excuse me, the Dem mayor candidate in New York City, Zohran Mamdani. The Dem voters even in New York City are rejecting him. So we have this now coming out. So we have something going on in space that's peculiar. So we have Earth, we have the moon, the sun, we have planets, Venus, Mars, Jupiter. We've been hearing about this interstellar object. It was described as Atlas 31 comet by NASA. And who believes NASA? Not many people these days. So BPEARTHWATCH had come out and said he didn't think it was a comet because it didn't have a tail, and that likely it's an asteroid. Now we had Avi Loeb. He's a Harvard astrophysicist who said it was an ET ship. And now we have Mike from around the world also saying it's an ET ship. And talking about, of all things, I'm hearing this from Avi Loeb, from BPEARTHWATCH, from Mike from around the world, from Dr. Michael Sala, and so on. Talking about the Galactic Federation. Okay, I got this to say. I would like to have a definition of what is the Galactic Federation, who's operating this, how does the Earth interact with this, where is it located, and so on. Now, I do know a few things about Galactic Federation. It's being put forth as a location. I believe it has ships around Mars, possibly Jupiter, that are interstellar ships, and it's manned by non-human species plus humans, but we have very little other information about it. But we do have credible sources now coming out talking about the Galactic Federation as if it is real. And you and I don't have much solid information upon which to either refute or accept that some organization called the Galactic Federation is real or not real. But we do have credible sources saying it is real. Now we have this coming out from Mike from around the world, that from Earth into space, no space activity takes place without the permission of the Galactic Federation, and all space activity from the Earth is also requires an escort, for which the nation of Russia provides escorts. That comes from Mike from around the world. He put out a program published on Daily Excellence, I believe in 2024. Stephen Benoon recently went over it and put it on YouTube. So I'll list that for you so you can listen to it. So we have this. Now, BPEARTHWATCH puts out that the interstellar object does appear to be under intelligent control, and does appear, so that would mean it's not a comet and not a asteroid. It's actually a spaceship, because it's putting forth indications that it can turn on and turn off and engage in anti-gravity force. So that would indicate it's under intelligent control. So BPEARTHWATCH puts forth puts forth anti-gravity acceleration, and that it will not be seen from Earth until November to December of 2025. Right now, it's this interstellar object is passing close to Venus, Mars, and Jupiter. But I put this forth as something we need to be thinking about and to investigate. Galactic Federation. Dr. Michael Sala talking about Galactic Federation, and that some of its leaders are corrupt. Well, that would reflect what we see on Earth in many governments, militaries, and so on. Yeah, so that's going on. And now we have this. So we have also an update from a good source, Prometheus Updates. And we'll talk about a little politics, because that's what we're engaging in right now, isn't it? Deep state, described as being the fallen angels and their offspring, the Nephilim. And we also have the New World Order. One representative would be Soros. And now Prometheus Updates is putting forth much information to describe the New World Order as being equal to or put in place by the UK. Now we know the UK is the financial center of the New World Order in a section of London called the City of London. So we know that's going on. We know that to be factual. So Prometheus Updates is talking about much of this information. We're seeing DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, put forth about Obama, NHRC, and Obama's cabinet, and so on. So she's talking about Russiagate and bringing out information that the UK operative Christopher Steele, who put forth a fake dossier that the U.S. intel agency said was fake. So Prometheus Updates puts out Christopher Steele was not a rogue UK spy. He headed up for the MI6, their Russia office for 3 years. And then he was tasked by Obama, HRC, the Dems, and the Deep State to put forth this fake dossier trying to say that Russia interfered in the U.S. election for President Trump. So that's going on. Steele's expertise was engaging in info wars to control fake information, lies, to target politicians. The money for the Steele dossier and for other activities taken by the UK against America and President Trump came from NATO, the US State Department, and the UK. And that Brennan, part of Obama's cabinet, was deeply involved with the UK, MI6, and NATO's efforts to take President Trump down. And Gina Haspel. Now, Gina Haspel was She was actually put in place by President Trump as the head of the CIA after he took office in 2017. Gina Haspel was a deep state operative. And in 2020, the 2020 election, Gina Haspel was shot in a shootout that took place at a CIA location in Berlin, Germany. I believe it was Berlin, could have been Frankfurt, because she was deeply engaged in flipping the votes for President Trump to JB. She was a deep stater. There was a shootout at the CIA location in Germany in November of 2020 where servers were actively engaged in flipping the votes from President Trump to JB. There was a shootout between the CIA and the U.S. military. Sadly, 6 U.S. military soldiers were killed. Gina Haspel was also shot, but she was patched up and taken to Gitmo. So that's going on. So when you hear the name Gina Haspel, now you have a little more background. And President Trump is trying to right the ship of America, beginning with prosperity and truth. So we know the tariffs are part of his program to do that. Now, part of the tariff program also, as he's negotiating with individual nations, part of his plan is designed to take down the UK New World Order. One way is financially. So that's going on. And now I'd like to end with this. 2 little boys were at a wedding, and one little boy said, "How many wives can a man have?" And the other little boy said, 16. For better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, and so on. So it's good to be in prayer for America, President Trump, the U.S. military, and world peace. I love you, and I'll see you soon.